So far away, Lucas, are you ready for another episode of Wiki Weekends?
I mean, are you ready for another episode?
No, there was just like a bit of paper stuck to my coffee cup. And do you know where you could find paper coffee cups? At McDonald's. Specifically at McDonald's in like the 2000s when the subject of today's video was made. Super Size Me.
McDonald's can put good food in your family and change back in your pocket.
So far away, Lucas, what do you remember about the, it says here, American documentary film directed by and starring Morgan Spurlock called Super Size Me?
I remember a couple of things. One was that it blew up massively.
Yes, one of the breakout films of that year.
Yeah, and it was essentially someone documenting what it would be like to eat nothing but a diet of McDonald's for an entire, I think it was a month, and then every time they asked the question, do you want to supersize, he had to say yes, regardless of how his appetite was at the time.
So the pitch was, as you mentioned there, eat McDonald's for every meal, but, you know, it was interspersed with just various documentary footage about McDonald's as a company, its history, the idea of like the super size.
One size French fries when McDonald's first opened, called fries. That size fries is now called small, medium, large, and super size. That original size is still here. It's got about 200 calories, but the super size is going to pack in over 600 calories.
It was, as you mentioned, very, very popular. It's also one of my favourite documentaries because it's completely full of shit.
I was about to say that's the last thing I remember about it, is that since that documentary has come out, there has been a lot of people calling him the fuck out on whether that was actually factual.
Yes, so, you know, so we're all on the same page, though. If you want to check out the wiki we're referring to, it will be no doubt linked below. But Super Size Me, as mentioned, a 2004 American documentary film, written, starring, directed by Morgan Spurlock, an American independent filmmaker. Spurlock's film follows a 30-day period from February 1st to March 2nd, 2003. He couldn't have done it in a month. That doesn't have 28 days. So it'd just be like, you know, March 1st to March 31st, something like that. The film follows, you know, him during that, which he ate only McDonald's food. The film documents the drastic effects on Murlock's physical and psychological health and emotional well-being. It also explores the fast food industry's corporate influence, including how it encourages poor nutrition for its own profit and gain. And no one's going to argue that, you know, fast food companies aren't trying to get people to eat their food all the time. We all know this. And that's the thing. I think that's one of the reasons why the documentary is so frustrating to watch. It was like, do you know McDonald's, once you eat McDonald's, like, yeah, they're a company. It's like, do you know McDonald's is unhealthy? It's like, yeah, it's McDonald's. But do you know how unhealthy it is? Like, yes, it's McDonald's. Like, but do you know how much sugar's in a Coca-Cola? Yes, I do.
And obviously not everyone does. Not everyone's aware as much of what they eat. But, like, it's not shocking to know that McDonald's is not healthy to eat for every meal of your day. But
and I believe one of my favourite quotes from like a nutritionist who was asked, have you seen Super Size Me? It's like, no, I've seen the trailer. And from that I can see, it's like, it doesn't surprise me that a guy stopped exercising and ate fast food every day and he gains weight. How is this shocking? But it was to a lot of people, so...
What was shocking, I guess, was like how much he reportedly put on in a month.
Yes, so Spurlock ate McDonald's restaurants 3 times a day, eating every item on the chain's menu at least once.
Large or supersize?
I think I'm gonna have to go supersize.
Spurlock consumed an average of 20.9 megajoules, or the equivalent of about 5,000 calories, which is about 9.26 Big Macs per day during the experiment. He also walked about 2 kilometers or 1.5 miles a day. An intake of around 2,500 calories within a healthy, balanced diet is more generally recommended for a man to maintain his weight. As a result, the then 32-year-old Spurlock gained 24 pounds, about 11 kilos, a 13% body mass increase, increased his cholesterol, and experienced mood swings, sexual dysfunction, and fat accumulation in his liver.
You cause some major harm to your heart, your liver, your blood.
You're gonna die. You'll die. I want more. You gotta stop it.
It took Spurlock 14 months to lose all the weight gained from his diet, using a vegan diet supervised by his then girlfriend, a chef who specialised in gourmet vegan dishes. And when you watch the documentary, you get the feeling that Morgan Spurlock was just fucking sick of eating vegan food. Because like they have his girlfriend in it who's like, well, I'm not happy that he's eating meat again, but I get that he's doing it for his experiment, and you just see him like, oh.
I got my chicken group.
There's no chicken group.
That's my cholesterol group.
Protein.
I got my protein group.
Carbohydrates.
I got my meat group.
See, I'd forgotten about that little nugget. But, you know, at least based off knowing what vegan food was like 10 years ago in the UK, I can't imagine it was good 20 years ago in the US. Like,
yeah, it's like, and it's always been that joke, isn't it? Of like, it's always been, I think tofu is commonly the butt of the joke. And when I found out that tofu, no one knows how to make it properly. If you don't know tofu, people, the joke you see on TV, oh, it's slimy and awful. It's like, no, it's moist. You're supposed to squeeze out that juice and then cook it in whatever you want it to take on the flavour of. Think of it like a sponge that absorbs the flavour of whatever it's cooked in. But how many times can you think in your head of a sitcom or something where it's like, oh, we're not gonna have turkey for Christmas, we're having tofu. And just like the guy just like gets a face like a slapped ass, like, I don't want to eat tofu.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good bean curd bird.
May I have my carving knife, please?
Thank you, Frank.
I want to slit my throat.
And, you know, it's one of those of, I had a similar experience. I understand why people might have that mindset, because the first couple of times I got served tofu, it was slimy, it was horrible. It's like, people need to learn to cook it correctly.
Yeah, and it's like and vegan food is like often this scapegoat. People, like, they don't like it because they associate it with liberalism, and it's like, why do you associate eating healthier with liberalism? Because like, here's a thing that you might not know, folks at home. Almost every celebrity follows a vegetarian or vegan diet. Do you know why? Because they have professional nutritionists tell them what's the healthiest thing to eat, and that's what they recommend. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, you think like Mr. Universe himself, a largely vegetarian to vegan diet.
All right, Arnold, we're here to see your fridge. You ready? Let's do it.
What is it exactly that you want to see in the fridge? You just want to see the food, or do you want to bust me because I'm not 100% vegan? Or what is it that you're up to?
He gets a lot of protein through like nuts and beans and other
healthy
sources like that, not fucking steak every day.
And it's because he pays someone millions of pounds to tell him what the healthiest thing to eat is to maintain the healthiest body he can, and that's what they tell him to do.
And look at that man at his age.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty alright for himself.
But it's just one of those things of, it's like, it's so hilarious to me. It's like almost every celebrity, like, or any rich person who has like, you know, a dietitian, it's like, don't eat meat. It's terrible for you. We're only supposed to eat it like once a week. There's a great interview with Bruce Campbell. He's doing like a Reddit AMA, and someone asks him during the AMA, I'm like, oh, go on, when you go to a steak restaurant, what do you order? Expecting like, you know, Bruce Campbell, you know, big burly Bruce Campbell's, but I get, you know, a slab of steak, and he just breaks it down like, well, I don't eat red meat anymore because it's terrible for you. If I do eat meat, I'll have a deck of cards sized piece of lean protein like fish or chicken. And you know the person's like annoyed at that answer, and he's like, I'm 60 years old, that's what's recommended to eat, so that's what I do.
And that's the thing, as someone half that age, and I do enjoy an occasional steak. It's nice as a treat. The people who are like, I eat red meat every meal, every day, it's like, you don't need to.
No,
you really don't.
Your body's not designed to do it. So that's why, like, historically, like the Sunday meal, like, you know, in Britain, like, you know, your Sunday meal, like a chicken roast, beef, something like that. That was like historically the only meat you ate in a week. The rest of the week was just like, you know, maybe a little bit of fish, like I said, a lean bit of protein or an egg. But the rest of it was just vegetables and grains.
It's okay, Karl, because we're all going to learn that soon if inflation keeps going the way
it is. Indeed, yes. We can have salt and bread. So, the reason for Spurlock's investigation was the increasing spread of obesity throughout the United States, which the Surgeon General had declared an epidemic, and the corresponding lawsuit brought against McDonald's on behalf of 2 overweight girls, who it was alleged became obese as a result of eating McDonald's food. And again, I don't mock this because children don't know. Children need to be taught proper nutrition, and the people you'd want to teach that are their parents. But if their parents were never taught proper nutrition, you'd hope it'd fall in the schools. But again, this becomes a politicized issue of when you tell kids. So when you say like, okay, we need to teach kids healthy eating, it's like, we shouldn't have to tell them that McDonald's is unhealthy. It's like, well, who's going to tell them that?
Yeah.
Who's going to tell them that?
Who's that?
McDonald. Ronald McDonald.
Who is it?
McDonald.
What does he do?
He was helping people at the cash register.
He works at McDonald's. I love the pancakes and...
You're only going to learn something if someone tells you it. Like, You're not just gonna turn on the TV one day and McDonald's is like, by the way, we're shit.
Of course they are. No, and you know, and if the parents don't know, because they're really telling. I wrote an article a few years ago for Top Tens, where it's just like surprising things that people believe, and the amount of people who think, you know, you get taught like the 5 fruit and veg a day, which is a nice round number, 5 fist-sized portions of fruit or vegetables per day. That's wrong. Like, it should be 10, but when they realised it was 10 sounds like too many. So if they say 5, that sounds more reasonable. Yeah.
To 7 now, and like, I'm sure over time it'll be like trying to educate people better and better, but yeah.
But they thought if we say 10, that sounds undoable, so we should say 5 because that sounds more reasonable. And there is a not insignificant amount of people who think that French fries or chips to us British people, you know, counts as one of your 5 a day. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a potato. A potato is a vegetable. Which
is not wrong.
No, it's a reasonable assumption to make. And it's like, but it's fried. A potato, sure, if you have like, you know, some mashed potato, like maybe a bit of butter and salt in there, but like, you know, a fried potato as part of like, you know, a bag of chips or some French fries, that's, you're not getting the benefit of the healthy potato in there. Potatoes are really good for you, just not when they're fried.
There are plenty of health benefits when it comes to potatoes. So what do we need to know, Dr. Nandy?
Hi, Carolyn. You know, potatoes actually in their natural form are quite healthy. They're packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. But when you turn those potatoes into French fries, hash browns, or mashed potatoes using a lot of butter, sour cream, or oil, they become an unhealthy dish packed with added calories.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's all part of like having a balanced diet, isn't it? And we're not sitting here going like, never eat fried food. Like, chips are like, you know, if you ever have a chip or a fry or whatever you want to call it, then it's bad. It's like, no, it's just, you know, if you're going to have an unhealthy meal, try and balance it out with something a bit lighter and a bit healthier.
Oh, no, you know, just makes that, you know, we're all, you know, guilty for the blowout. Like, you know, I had a takeaway, yes, I had some McDonald's yesterday. It was lovely. Well, that McDonald's is like, today, after this video ends, I'll be doing exercise for a couple hours. And then I'll be eating, like, you know, a salad and some, an omelette.
It's all that's clearly not what Morgan Spurlock did, is it?
No, and it's one of the things, it's weird to feel, because obviously, yeah, McDonald's is a massive evil corporation who obfuscate the danger to health that their product represents. But at the same time, he was also obfuscating the data and stuff to put things like, you know, put his thumb on the scale, as we'll get to. So, the synopsis, we don't really need the synopsis, do we? Like, you know, he just said on
I think
McDonald's.
We've ran over it pretty much ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, so the experiment specifically, though, is, so Spurlock followed specific rules which governed his eating habits during the 30 days. So, he must fully eat 3 McDonald's meals per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He must consume every item on the McDonald's menu at least once over the course of 30 days. He managed this in 9 days. He must only ingest items that are offered on the McDonald's menu, which includes bottled water. All outside consumption of food would be prohibited.
Could I get a large vanilla shake, please?
I'm sorry, sir. We don't have any shake right now.
No shakes?
No.
When will you have shakes, you think? Guess that's never.
And I think it's a bit silly to be like, you can't just have your own water.
Yeah. And presumably, like, he just bought like 50 bottles of water, and it's like, it's the same brand they use at McDonald's, it's fine. He must supersize the meal if offered, but he cannot request to supersize it on his own. And I do agree with the thing, like, supersize is an excessive amount of food for a single person.
Yeah, and I've not been to America, but I've seen examples of American McDonald's portions, and like, a large meal over here is enough for a person. A large meal in America, for me, seems a bit much. Yeah, supersize is just way too much.
Yeah, their large was our supersize. Before, like, supersize was discontinued for just being... it's an unhealthy amount. I remember it was a thing in one state in America where they were trying to regulate the size of sodas. And again, it became a political issue of like, you're telling us what size soda we can drink. It's like, no. It's just that you don't know how bad this is for you. So, and they even mock it on like Parks and Rec.
I was about to bring that up.
It's a child size, and they bring out like, you know, the fucking tub. It's like, well, it's the size of a small child.
Most people call it a gallon, but they call it the regular. Then there is a horrifying 512-ounce version that they call child size. How is this a child-size soda?
Well, it's roughly the size of a 2-year-old child if the child were liquefied.
And they say, but it's got like 400, it's got 400% your daily reckoning amount. And that's the thing that people say, like, So if you get a bottle of Coke, for example, and you look at it, and it says like, 20% of your recommended amount of sugar per serving, and then one bottle is 3 serving sizes. It's like, no, it's not. Like, 'cause if it was, it'd be 1/3 the size. And that I agree with. I don't like that companies can do that. And the way to stop that is with government intervention and regulation. But every time they try and do this, right-wing people get like up in arms of like, it's the nanny state. It's like, because you're too stupid. And the companies, if they're not forced to, will just put their thumb on the scale and manipulate it in the way that they can. Like,
and I'm sure there's some like backhanded donations going in to stop that being more scrupulous. But
I think we've all laughed, haven't we?
No one's eating like a sharing bag of like crisps and having like 8 portions of it. It's like, no.
Yeah, I think we've all laughed at like, you get like a donut and it tells you that a donut is 2 portions. It's like, who the fuck is leaving half a donut? Like, if it was like, if it was meant to be 2, and the reason they do that is because legally they're allowed to do that, and then they can put on that nice little thing of, oh, it's only like 10% of your recommended daily amount of calories per half. And you can say, yeah, they do write it on there, it's your own fault for not reading. But then you can argue like, why do they hide this information? It's because they know if you knew how bad it was, you wouldn't eat it.
Being forced to reveal how much sugar you are adding to people's food might seem pretty mild, but there is no way the food manufacturing industry is going to let that happen. The FDA has been swarmed with letters from every conceivable product, from the National Yogurt Association to the National Frozen Pizza Institute to multiple representatives of the cranberry industry.
And it's the same thing if there is a push in the United States to have the amount of sugar on like food and snacks measured in tablespoons or teaspoons, because that's a lot easier for people to visualize than grams. Because if you see something containing 20 grams of sugar, do you know what 20 grams of sugar is, Lucas? Like, off the top of your head, like, do you know how much 5 teaspoons is? You can picture 5 teaspoons of sugar.
I mean,
right?
I can picture 5 teaspoons, but I couldn't tell you like how much that would weigh.
Yeah, well, that'd be 20 grams.
Yeah.
And that's why they put grams, because like, you get a bottle of Coke, for example, which I think on average contains 30 grams of sugar. You think, oh, 30 grams, that doesn't sound like 30 grams, that's barely nothing, right? It's 30 grams. And then if you tell them that's 7 to 8 teaspoons of sugar, they might second guess drinking that if they know it's got
like
7.
If you gave someone a cup of coffee and went, oh, there's 8 teaspoons of sugar that I put in there.
Yeah. Someone might
people would probably not drink that.
So a typical can of soda has about 36 grams of sugar. Divided by 4, you get 9. That means that a typical can of soda has 9 teaspoons of sugar.
You hand someone a Frappuccino from Starbucks, and they would assume that, well, it's not, okay, it's sweet, but it can't have that much sugar in it, because I wouldn't put that much sugar in it if I was making it. It'd be unpalatable. It's like, and companies out there fight against that regulation every single day, because they know it would stop you, the consumer, making a more informed decision. And it's in their best interest to keep you as uninformed as possible.
But the most revealing plea came from the American Beverage Association, who wrote that if there is to be an added sugar label, it must be measured in grams and not teaspoons, because teaspoons are, and I quote, well, teaspoons may carry an unfair negative connotation that undermines the factual nature of nutrition information.
Yep.
And it's also on, like, they doesn't hurt that they spend billions marketing and lobbying the government, which, something Spurlock covers, which is why it's annoying that he lied. Because he had a good point, but then he had to lie about it to make himself seem more...
It had to be a sensationalist piece so that it would get picked up by more people.
But it ultimately weakens his argument when you can point to the various inaccuracies. But, after 5 days, he gained 9.5 pounds, from 185 to 195 pounds. It's not long before he finds himself experiencing depression and claims that he experiences it along with bouts of lethargy and headaches that could be relieved by eating McDonald's meals. And again, that's in my, just sensationalizing of. It's like you're eating a lot of salt, and a lot of salt will leave you dehydrated, and you're getting headaches because of that.
I feel horrible today. My headache's coming back again. It feels like somebody's yanking on the tendons behind my eyes.
Is that when people say, people don't know this, you get headaches from being dehydrated because there's not enough salt? Or, you've had too much salt and not enough water. It's like, it's about maintaining the balance of electrolytes within your own body. And it's like, and he should know that because he was speaking to clinical dietitians and nutritionists who should have been at, call him on his shit of like...
And presumably that's just cut out, right?
Yeah, like, people don't get McDonald's depression in 5 days.
No, not in a week. I'm sure if I did this for a month, 3 months, 6 months, yes, I would put on weight. Yes, I would be depressed. Like, yes, like general just healthiness and mood would go down. I agree, but yeah, you don't become like depressed out of like 5 days at McDonald's.
Yeah, but it makes for great, very entertaining a movie. Spurlock's then girlfriend, Alexandra Jamieson, attests to the fact that Spurlock lost much of his energy and sex drive during his experiment. It was not clear at that time whether or not Spurlock would be able to complete the full month of the high-fat, high-carbohydrate diet, and family and friends began to express concern. Again, great sensationalist, moments in your film that you could put into a trailer.
Especially like noting the lack of sex drive.
Yeah, it's like
that's a very out there thing to say.
It's like McDonald's stopped me getting a boner.
Yeah, that just like grabs people's attention immediately.
I think the saturated fats are starting to impede the blood flow to his penis, and he's having a hard time, getting it up.
Yeah, and it is true that, if you have a high fat diet and you get fatty deposits around your arteries, that can include the arteries to extremities such as the wang. That doesn't happen in 5 days, which is like what all nutrition is like. You don't get obese in 5 days. It takes 2 days for it to get through your system. Your body's not even started processing it and turning it into fat yet. And he's claiming to have experienced the beginnings of clinical obesity within a week. And it's like, that's not how it works. Obesity is an issue that, it's a lifelong thing people struggle with. Usually started in childhood. And that's why it's so damaging, because it starts inside, and it's not until you physically start to show outward symptoms of it where it becomes, visible. But by that point, it's usually too late. It's the fatty deposits in and around your organs that are the issue. But that takes years of build-up, not 5 fucking days.
Yeah.
And I also think he's really tired. It's like maybe because he's got a fucking documentary crew following around every day. He's been working for at that point 7 days straight and recording himself. No one is like, he's not his usual energetic self yet, because he's been recording for 7. Well, obviously, again, by day 21, he experienced heart palpitations. And to be fair, I've experienced heart palpitations after one McDonald's. So I get it.
Yeah, I can believe 3 weeks straight of nothing but McDonald's, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's me. 3 weeks in, then I can start to imagine you'd experience some symptoms. But it's the fact 5 days.
Heart palpitations is not as you say, that extreme end where it's years and years of build-up. That can happen relatively quickly.
Yeah, but it usually takes the body is a remarkably resilient thing. It can bounce back from near enough anything, like limb loss, extreme trauma, or all things that you can recover from. And that's why it normally takes so many. That's why when people say alcoholism or obesity, it's it takes years of abuse to the point where your body just simply cannot process the amount of shit you're making it deal with. But either way, so on March 2nd, Spurlock makes it to day 30 and achieves his goal. In 30 days, he has supersized his meals 9 times along the way, 5 of which were in Texas. His physicians are surprised at the degree of deterioration in Spurlock's health, and he notes that he's eaten as many McDonald's meals as most nutritionists say the ordinary person should eat in 8 years.
I nearly doubled my risk of coronary heart disease, making myself twice as likely to have heart failure. I felt depressed and exhausted most of the time, my mood swung on a dime, and my sex life was non-existent.
And then the documentary end text states that it took Spurlock 5 months to lose 20 pounds, 9.1 kilos, and another 9 months to lose the last 4.5 pounds. And I'm wondering what he was doing that it took him 9 months to lose 4 pounds. I could take a shit and lose 4 pounds.
I mean, I'm presuming that when he got that first 20 off and he was basically back to his normal self, that he probably wasn't particularly aiming to lose that last couple of pounds as hard.
Yeah,
I'm presuming it's I've got roughly to where I was before the documentary.
Yeah, but it's that thing of and I know to lose weight safely, it's normally recommend a pound a week is a safe amount of weight to lose per
20
week.
pounds in what, 5 months? Did you say
9 months in total?
The first 20 pounds
in but so that would be 20 weeks. Yeah.
So yeah, that's about right.
But so again, sensationalist of because then he can say it took me nearly a year to lose the weight I gained. It's because it feels like after a couple of months, like you said, you were kind of happy with where your body was, and 4 pounds above your original weight wasn't that big a deal. 4 or 5 pounds either way is not a big deal unless you're boxing. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Like I said, you
exactly.
could lose that weight by taking a shit.
That's like, yeah, go in the toilet and like dehydrating yourself, you lose that amount of weight.
Yeah, and it says a short epilogue was added to the film. It showed that salads can contain even more calories than burgers if the customer adds liberal amounts of cheese and dressing prior to consumption, which is another thing that, that comes from education. If people think it's a salad, it's healthy. It's like,
but then the amount of salads that you
dressing.
see that are just dressed to the nines, and it's like they're going out for like prom because they're that dressed up. It's just, that's not healthy anymore.
And I think as well in America they specifically they eat a lot of ranch, and ranch is fucking terrible for you. It's like a bit of olive oil, or some salad dressing, vinaigrette on a salad. That's fine. But Americans they like their ranch. They like their full fat mayonnaise.
Honestly, the amount of times we served a lot of Caesar salads at Nando's, and there'd be people like, oh, I want 8 times the amount of Caesar dressing that you put on there. It's like, why are you eating a salad then?
You might as well just eat fries.
Yeah, you might as well just go get the chips.
Yeah. But again, the reception, Super Size Me premiered at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival, where Morgan Spurlock won the Grand Jury Prize for directing the film. The film opened in the US on May 7, 2004, and grossed a total of $11 million, making it the 22nd highest grossing documentary film of all time. And it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. It eventually lost to Born into Brothels, which sounds fascinating. It did, however, win the award for Best Documentary Screenplay from the Writers Guild of America. Overall, it says that it, received pretty high praise. 70% trending on Rotten Tomatoes sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have here just some reception here. So it received 2 thumbs up at the movies with Ebert and Roper. Caroline Westbrook for BBC News stated the hype for the documentary was proper to a certain extent because of its serious message. Now, overall, the film's high comedy factor and over-familiarity with the subject matter render it less powerful than other recent documentaries about the subject. Robert Davis of Pace said the movie accomplished some of its goals and addressed an important topic, but at the same time sometimes looked like a publicity stunt more than a documentary.
And it's tough. It's always a challenge. I know, and it's as a kid, it's awfully hard these days. But
and kids are not always kind.
No, not at all. And I know that firsthand. And it's the problem is the world's not going to change. You have to change.
He primarily criticised the dramatic and unscientific approach of Super Size Me, saying Spurlock unnecessarily ate more than he had to and ignored his nutritionist's advice. Davis also explained he would have been more interested had the documentary been about trying to eat as healthy as possible at McDonald's, stating, in part, you could choose low-fat options, but it would be impossible to get enough vegetables and fibre, and the low-fat meal would be incredibly bland. The product of a system that has worked to optimise food delivery and consistency, and in doing so has invented foods so devoid of flavour they require dressings, oils, beef tallow, and goopy coatings to make them more tolerable. But he didn't do that. And that would have been a more interesting documentary, like, can I eat healthily only eating McDonald's?
Yeah, or as building up this repertoire of meals that he can, I've eaten at McDonald's every day this week for every meal, but I've actually eaten a relatively balanced diet because I was having the fruit bags and the salads and stuff like that.
Speaking of which, McDonald's UK responded that the author intentionally consumed an average of 5,000 calories a day and did not exercise, and that the results would have been the same regardless of the source of the overeating, which is true. Weight gain.
That's just maths.
People try to make it complicated. It's very simple. Calories in, calories out. You eat 5,000. It doesn't matter if you eat 5,000 calories worth of salad. You will gain weight.
Admittedly, if you eat 5,000 calories of McDonald's, it'll be worse than eating 5,000 calories of a balanced diet.
And here's the thing: Morgan Spurlock claims he ate 5,000 calories a day. Have you ever tried eating 5,000 calories a day, Lucas? It's very difficult.
So all the sauces, nuggets, 10 cheeseburgers, all the drinks. I mean, this is going to fill me up good.
I think this is the real deal.
Almost impossible for an average person.
Probably consumed 5,000 calories, maybe when it's you go on a night out.
Yeah.
And you're drinking all night, sugary drinks and stuff, and then you go for a takeaway and you order too much.
But there's the thing. Do you think you could eat 5,000 calories a day? And that's... People have queried Morgan Spurlock because it's a very specific claim that he repeats multiple times throughout the film, its marketing, and in interviews.
At the end of this month, I'll have eaten as much McDonald's as most nutritionists say you're supposed to eat
in 8 years.
He has never been able to conclusively prove where those calories were coming from.
To get my calorie count even close to Spurlockian proportions, I have to supersize my lunch, supersize my dinner, then throw in 2 desserts. So how did a guy who claimed to eat 3 meals per day and only supersize 9 meals in an entire month manage to consume more than 5,000 calories each and every day?
Again, I presume it's simple enough to be like, well, if you add up 3 large McDonald's meals and maybe on average make like 1 in 5 a supersized one.
And that's what it feels like he did. It feels like he just wrote 5,000 as this arbitrary number because it's twice as many calories you're supposed to eat per day, and then just never backed it up. It feels like he just made up a number and then came to a conclusion and then worked towards that conclusion rather than actually doing the work and making a conclusion from it. Because there's a Reply documentary, Fathead, Tom Norton, suggests that his calorie and fat counts don't add up, and noted that his refusal to publish the Super Size Me food log was an obvious issue.
Several journalists have asked Spurlock to let them see his supersized food log. The answer in every case was no. One of Spurlock's agents asked me to put my request in writing, so I did, and I never got a response.
And Morgan Spurlock has been repeatedly asked, can you show us the food log of what you ate? Should be pretty simple, right? You were being followed around by a camera crew. What did you eat on these 30 days? And every time he gets asked, he refuses.
So what I should do is I should keep a sort of a checklist of the things that I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Keep a food log. Your calorie needs are going to be averaging about 2,500 calories a day.
Well, I went, admittedly, this is a third-party website. Went to Calorie King and just went, how many calories in a McDonald's Big Mac meal large? And it comes up 1,320 for like Big Mac, large fries, large.
And that's the thing, yeah. And someone worked out if he ate a large Big Mac meal every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which by his admission he didn't do, it still wouldn't be enough to get the 5,000 calories. Where did those calories come from?
4,000.
Yeah.
And he's probably not eating a Big Mac every time.
No, he's eating, and that's the thing of like, so what did he eat? And the fact that he won't tell anyone kind of suggests that he just fudged the numbers a little bit and just said 5,000 because it's a nice round number.
And again, if he wasn't so transparent about how many meals and how many supersizes he got, that might be more believable, because you think like maybe like every other meal was a supersized meal.
No, but he says he had 9 supersized meals throughout that time. So
and that was what, 90 meals?
Yep.
So 10%?
And there's the thing. And multiple people have tried to recreate his like documentary, and no one to date has ever been able to achieve his results, even if they eat more than he said that he did.
Like when people have tried it, isn't it like people got nowhere even close?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's people who've tried to replicate it, and they say even if you ate McDonald's 4 or 5 meals a day, you can't get to the 5,000 calories he claims. And then when Morgan Spurlock gets asked about it, he tells them to shut up and stands by his research, but then won't provide the evidence, which is annoying because he had a good point, but then he couldn't help but make it all about himself.
It's a shame that he didn't have like cameras to record everything that he ate.
But either way, fascinating documentary, annoying reception. Like that's the one thing to say, it's kind of annoying. But either way, let us know what your favourite McDonald's menu item is. This video is not sponsored, but it's fucking McDonald's. Everyone's had it, haven't they? See you all next time. Cheers. So I'll get to like 29 minutes there, so
yeah.